Will there be a Lady Voldemort in the new HBO series? Who will play the character in the show? And what about Tom Riddle? Will it be the same actor? Will we finally get the backstory we've been asking for? Here is everything that you need to know about the HBO Voldemort debate, explained point by point, including rumours, theories, and the facts that we know so far. Without further ado, welcome wizards, witches, muggles, and squibs back to SpellBuzz. I'm your host, Francesca Williams, and in today's episode, we will be talking all about one of the most important, but also highly anticipated characters of the new series, and that is Voldemort. But what will we actually be covering? Well, we'll be talking all about casting rumours for Voldemort and Tom Riddle, and the possibility that they'll be played by the same actor. Also, the controversial topic of a female Voldemort. We'll also be talking about the reasons why HBO haven't released the name for Voldemort yet. And finally, we'll be talking all about the backstory that we hope to see in the new HBO series. But first of all, let's recap the casting situation. So we know for certain that we don't know who Voldemort is going to be played by, but we also know that J.K. Rowling is an executive producer. Now, a lot of fans have been using this to come up with their theories for who may play Voldemort. And this is because, aside from age, in the original films, J.K. Rowling had this specific condition that the main characters would be played by British actors. So naturally, a lot of the theories are surrounding British actors. But this is going to be a little bit different from the series, because in the series, we know already that they've cast an American actor, John Lithgow, as Dumbledore.
There's a good deal of controversy that an American has been hired to play him. He's such an icon.
So who Voldemort is really anyone's guess. Now, we do know that J.K. Rowling visited the set in November 2025. She said that the scenes that she saw were so good, and she also praised the cast. Now, we know this is likely not talking about Voldemort because he does show up only at the very end of the Philosopher's Stone, obviously on the back of Professor Quirrell's head, which is likely to be CGI and probably done a little bit post-production as well. But that's a recap, an overview of the casting situation. So now let's get into the man, Voldemort. Voldemort is the version of this character that has committed so many atrocities and is so evil that he is no longer fully human because he's split his soul from the evil acts that he has done. When I say it like that, he sounds absolutely terrifying, doesn't he?
I think when I'm playing Voldemort, I'm trying to access something without empathy. It's about power and control and manipulating of people for power. There's a real, almost erotic pleasure in how I can control you. I know I have the power to do it. You have no chance.
It might surprise you to know that in the original films, many fans were not happy with the way that Voldemort was portrayed. And this is because in the books, he's seen as extremely menacing, sinister, cold, and just terrifying. I mean, he lives a life without love, without a single drop of love. But in the films, because his backstory isn't explored, he is shown as quite evil still, but he's kind of seen as more grotesque. And also, some scenes are quite funny. Even some memes have been made out of some of his most iconic scenes. So that's not really what you want for your villain. So we're hoping that in the new series, they'll stick more to the traditional book essence. I know this is hard, and it was even harder for the films because they didn't really go into Voldemort's backstory. But I think the way that they'll have to do it is by really alienating the audience from the character and also see him as only half human and completely loveless. So now, let's get into the actors that we have seen may be rumoured to play this role. So starting off strong, we have Nicholas Hoult, who is known for his work in the recent Superman, and his name surfaced in summer of 2025. Then we have the most famous, and I've actually seen her as the most popular shout for Voldemort, which is Cillian Murphy. He's known obviously for his work in Peaky Blinders and Oppenheimer, and his name surfaced as early as the end of 2024. We also have Matt Smith, who might have an advantage because he already works with HBO on House of Dragon, and he was July 2025. Then we have Jamie Bauer, who played Vecna in Stranger Things, but it's important to note that his name surfaced for this role before Stranger Things Season 5 came out, so he's always been on the radar. And then we've also have Ralph Fiennes. Now, Ralph Fiennes played Voldemort in the original films, and I think many fans would absolutely love a return. But it's very interesting because Ralph Fiennes has actually named Cillian Murphy as a potential Voldemort, so I kind of doubt it would be him.
Who do you think should fill your shoes for Voldemort in the upcoming HBO?
Well, I'm told they're already filled, aren't they?
Who do you think it should be? If anyone could do Voldemort the way that you did
I've already said I think Cillian Murphy's very good. Okay. Very good choice. I think they've cast him, haven't they?
I hope so. I love Cillian Murphy. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm just a muggle. How would I know?
Now, let's get into this rumour. So it's important to note the context. There's this viral video of Ralph Fiennes naming Cillian Murphy as Voldemort, and it was taken on the red carpet of 28 years later. Now, Cillian Murphy, sorry for the spoiler, shows up at the end of the film, so it's likely that Ralph Fiennes and Cillian Murphy were on set together during this and likely conversed. It kind of seems like he doesn't know that Voldemort hasn't been confirmed yet, and to me it seems like it's kind of a confirmation, which is very contrary because Matt Smith and Cillian Murphy have actually both denied the role. I find this interesting because I think if they were playing Voldemort, they would have had to sign some sort of confidentiality clause, essentially saying they can't tell people they're him.
Would you be willing to play Voldemort?
Hypothetically, who knows? But I don't know. I think following in the footsteps of the great Ralph Fiennes is a very, very difficult mantle for someone. So good luck, whoever it is.
You see,
it ain't gonna be me.
I think there is still potential that Voldemort's name is on this list. I think truly the crux of the matter is why won't HBO tell us who is playing Voldemort? I know that he is he who must not be named, but surely the fans should know his name. Well, there's two ideas about this. The first one being that he's a really, really big name, so HBO don't want to announce it just yet. The second being that they're just trying to keep excitement up for the series, because essentially, once they've announced who's playing Voldemort, they don't really have much leverage on casting announcements, and if people don't like it, they might not even watch the series. I sit somewhere between these two rumours. My personal opinion is that they won't tell us who's playing Voldemort until after the series has aired. Essentially, we'll find out who's playing him in the credits. And this is because, yes, we'll see him on screen, but he's likely to be CGI'd, well, he should be CGI'd, onto the back of Professor Quirrell's head. So, provided that they try to make Voldemort very book accurate and they don't make him look human, it will be extremely hard to tell who's actually playing him. So we'll find out in the credits. And then people will talk. And this will keep the excitement up for Series 2, which I think is what HBO want. Potentially, they want to distance the fans from the actor playing Voldemort. And this is because, as I said earlier, there is potential that Voldemort can come across as quite grotesque or ridiculous. He needs to be scary and chilling. And this is because I think if we know who the actor is, we know the actor's a human with emotions and kindness and empathy. But if we just see Voldemort as this creature and we don't know, well, obviously we know there's a human behind there, but we don't know who it is, we can't put two and two together, then I think it shows Voldemort as a much scarier character. But talking of Series 2 and the Chamber of Secrets, let's get into Tom Riddle. Now, Tom Riddle is essentially the more human version of Voldemort, except he's not very human still. He doesn't have that empathy and kindness and nice emotions that normal people have. He is rather evil, essentially. There's a few names circulating for Tom Riddle, but no really big ones, apart from Owen Cooper. Owen Cooper is 16 years old, British, and an Emmy Award winner. He won his Emmy for his debut series Adolescence on Netflix. Now, Adolescence was so chilling and so good that the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that it should be shown in schools to raise awareness of the issues. So the issues shown in Adolescence were essentially extremist ideology, the murder of a classmate, and kind of these hidden manipulative feelings and ideas. And this is what Owen Cooper's character was basically hiding: his manipulation, his unsettling ideas, his hidden rage, and his extremist views. And this is much like Tom Riddle. We know Tom Riddle has the extremist view of pure blood supremacy, and we know he's extremely manipulative because he comes across as charming on the outside. I mean, he even charmed Professor Slughorn. So I think Owen Cooper would make a great Tom Riddle. However, as you know, these are all just rumours. And the other actor that has been named is Tom Hughes. Now, he is much less well known, and I personally hadn't heard of him until I've heard him suggested for this role. And he was mainly suggested on Reddit because of his resemblance to the character. I think the crux of the matter with Tom Riddle is that we expect to see him much more in the series than we ever did in the films. And that's because, actually, in the book, there are a lot of scenes that the films missed out. And these are scenes such as Tom Riddle's origin and the Gaunt family at that time, as well as Tom Riddle's lineage and Slytherin blood, and then also the fact he was evil from a very young age, and this is depicted through more scenes about his time in the orphanage. Now, I think a particularly interesting one to note that I really hope to see, which I think completely builds the foundation for Voldemort and Tom Riddle's character, is when his mother uses a love potion on a muggle to conceive him in a fake relationship. This has always been said to be the reason that he has absolutely no love in his heart, because he was not conceived via any real form of love. Now, there are also some scenes where I expect to see Tom Riddle because Dumbledore is trying to find out where Tom may have hidden the Horcruxes. This is shown a little bit in the films, particularly with Professor Slughorn, when Harry has to find Professor Slughorn's true memory and figure out how Tom ever came to know about Horcruxes. The other scenes that it shows is basically Dumbledore going to find other people that Tom may have known and extract their memories to try and figure out where these new Horcruxes may be placed and what object forms they might take the shape of. I think this is really important to the story because while the films did depict this quite well, in the sense that Harry kind of knew what he was looking for, I think it is even more layers to be added. And with the series claiming to be so book accurate and having the time to do so, it's so important that these scenes are shown. This is where there are some casting issues, because obviously we need Tom Riddle in Series 2 in Chamber of Secrets, but we also need him in Series 6 in The Half-Blood Prince, because that's where his main flashback memories come up and the scenes where he would be in would come up. Now, the problem is this. Because if you get a teen actor to play Tom Riddle in Series 2, by the time Series 6 comes around, he would have aged quite a lot and look visibly different. There is potential that they may film some of the Series 6 scenes when they're filming Series 2. However, I think it'd be quite difficult because, like with the films, as the films go on, they choose to make them visually darker. And I think there are some directorial choices that may happen in Series 6 that they can't figure out beforehand. And so the scenes then might not fit in correctly by the time they get there. My idea, or potential food for thought, is that what if they get a baby-faced adult actor to play Tom Riddle? The reason for this is that even in 6 years, this actor should still look young enough to play a teen or young adult Tom Riddle. Some examples of good actors for this sort of role would be the infamous Thomas Brodie-Sangster, and he is known for his baby face. He's in his 30s now, I believe, and he still looks like he could play a teen. Another good example would be British actor Asa Butterfield from Netflix's Sex Education, and this is because even though he's an adult now, with a little bit of styling, he could still easily play a teenager as well as a young adult, so he's much more versatile. And this poses another question for me, which is if they do choose to use an adult actor with a baby face to play Tom Riddle, then would they use the same actor to play Voldemort? I know there is a massive age gap between Tom Riddle that we see in the books and Voldemort, but I think because of Voldemort's significant amount of makeup and prosthetics and possible CGI, I think it's very, very doable. It just depends on whether the director feels that the actor has that skill level and whether that's the direction they want to go in. I think that's an interesting point to raise, and for me, it raises a lot of food for thought about the potential Voldemort casting and Tom Riddle casting. I now want to discuss one of the most controversial parts about the Voldemort casting, and this is the potential for a female Voldemort. This rumor came about when scooper Daniel Richman basically said that the Voldemort casting was open to all genders. Since then, there has even been talk of Cynthia Erivo as a female Voldemort. But why wouldn't this work, and why was this maybe misinterpreted? I think people took this idea and they rolled with it. Saying that casting is open to all genders is a very loose term and very general. And I think, to me, it portrays that if they found a female actor that was amazing, the most amazing Voldemort they ever saw, that they may potentially put the prosthetics on her and make her play Voldemort. Not that they were going to make Voldemort a female. If they were to make Voldemort female, it does pose some issues and questions, because the plot just would not work. A lot of Tom Riddle's childhood experiences would have been experienced differently, because we know that Tom Riddle was born in 1926 and didn't go to Hogwarts until 1938. So within that time, he was born in the Muggle world, raised in a Muggle orphanage, and at that time in the Muggle world, we know that gender roles were experienced very, very differently and were very strong. For boys, they had a certain expectation, and for girls, they had another one. So that would completely uproot the story of his upbringing. Second of all, it would cause really big issues with the acronym Tom Marvolo Riddle becoming I am Lord Voldemort, because surely it require a different name. It doesn't make any sense to have a woman born in 1926 be called Tom. So there's quite a few problems there. Even still, I have an incoming cursed child spoiler, so I'll just give you a moment. But essentially, are you gone? In the cursed child, they have a character called Delphi, and Delphi is the love child between Voldemort and Bellatrix Lestrange. Now, this would just not work if Voldemort was presented as a female, because it would just be confusing, right? So the continuity would be completely out the window. Saying that it would not work, I know some of you now, because we're talking about book accuracy and saying that's an inconsistent choice to cast Voldemort as a female, may want to comment about Snape. And let me just talk about this for just a moment. Now, yes, while the series has been talking about their fidelity to the books and how book accurate they're going to be, it is an inconsistent choice to make Voldemort a female. And that is definitely a point against HBO in that sense, if they were to do that. The same way it's a point against HBO for the Snape casting. However, the reason that it doesn't have the same impact that a female Voldemort would have is because with Snape, they have only changed the race or ethnicity of the character, which is one really specific aesthetic change. Now, I'd actually like to raise a point here, that in the books, Snape is described as having yellow crooked teeth, and in the original films, they're nowhere to be seen. Now, that is one aesthetic change that they changed. They changed his yellow crooked teeth to white straight teeth. In the same manner, it makes no difference to change Snape's skin color, because it does not change his background. We know that in the wizarding world, also, ethnicity is experienced very differently, because Snape has always grown up in the wizarding world, right? Ethnicity is not based on where you're from or the colour of your skin. In the wizarding world, it's based on your blood status. Now, Snape is a half-blood. If you were to change him from a half-blood to Muggle-born to pure blood, that would also change the story. But changing the colour of his skin is just an aesthetic choice at the end of the day. That being said, it is still an inconsistent choice, as I said previously, to take Voldemort from a male to a female, because it completely changes his background and upbringing and the core parts of the character. That being said, I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on the matter. So I've got 2 questions for you, which please put your answers in the comments down below. The first is, what do you think about the potential that there will be an actor that plays both Tom Riddle and Voldemort? Do you think it would work? And the second is, who would you love to see play Voldemort? Now, once again, thank you all for watching. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe. While it is free, it does help us to continue to bring you Harry Potter content and all the new updates about the HBO series. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye now.